Every single time I've made a Dragon's Den video, the comment sections say the same thing. Can you show me what happens after a Dragon's Den pitch? So today, you're gonna see 3 founders, Levi, Teddy, and Marissa.
And we're the founders of Perfect Ted.
You're going to see how a business that I invested in on Dragon's Den that was making roughly £9,000 a month is now on course to make £12 million a year.
Perfect Ted has become the UK's fastest growing energy drink in a record year of sales.
You're going to get to see how to build a brand from nothing, how to negotiate.
Would it feel more fair and de-risked if...
How to disrupt an industry with a new product that is completely different, and really behind the scenes as to how a business actually works.
Are you sure you want to do this? Think about the opportunity cost.
If you look at the last 18 months, just to put it in perspective, it goes, we launch in the nation's largest retailer, Tesco. We go on Dragon's Den in front of millions of people.
It didn't sit well with me that we only had 5 days to prepare. Hello, Dragons.
We negotiate a deal with Stephen Bartlett. We grow the team from 3 to 20 people. We become the newest sponsor to Diary of a CEO.
We become the fastest growing energy drink in the UK, the largest matcha brand in Europe.
The business 10x's. I mean, when you put that timeline together in 18 months, you can't write this story.
When we all know that there's a war coming.
But I want to start with how Dragon's Den came about.
It all started the day that we actually launched our Kickstarter campaign. So my first year of uni was quite an adjustment for me. I was spending 12-hour days in library and I really just needed caffeine. I have ADHD and anxiety, and they say that ADHD has to do with dopamine deficiency. Caffeine helps to increase production of dopamine in the brain, but
raising a question, how much caffeine is too much?
I wasn't drinking the right type of caffeine. It was making me feel so sick. A friend recommended one day that I try matcha, a caffeinated green tea that wouldn't give you the same kind of jittery, anxious feeling. And I switched. I felt more energized. I didn't feel as anxious. I didn't really suffer from the crashes because it's slow release energy. And when we moved over here, there was a real need for it. So we saw a massive gap in the market. We launched the energy drinks in October 2021. About 6 months after our Kickstarter campaign went live. And a few months in, Teddy gets a call.
From the producer of Dragon's Den being like, we've got a slot in 5 days. Do you want to come on the show in Manchester? And we're like, holy shit.
For anybody that doesn't know, the format of Dragon's Den is this. The entrepreneurs walk in through the door. They have a couple of minutes to pitch their business to us.
With my simple invention, Kids Flush.
And then the 5 dragons, Peter Jones, me, Deborah Meaden, Sarah Davis and Tuka Sullivan, can ask questions for as long as we want. Any of the dragons at any point can either declare that they're out, which means they don't want to invest, or they can make the entrepreneurs an offer.
I'm going to make you an offer.
What you should really be thinking about if you come to Dragon's Den is the fact that millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people are going to now know that you and your product exist. And so Dragon's Den can quite literally change people's lives.
We went straight into planning mode.
As you can see,
Basically only have like 2 days to prepare.
We had no forecast at that point.
I mean, we're calling up accounts and friends being like, what's our gross margin?
Numbers were just all over the place. We had no idea what the numbers were.
Yeah.
Hello, Dragons. How we doing today? I'm Marissa.
I'm Teddy.
And we're the founders of Perfect Ted.
We're going on Dragon's Den tomorrow. And Marissa had a great idea to create custom tote bags for the dragons. Perfect Sarah, perfect Stephen, perfect everybody, It was the biggest risk that we've taken
for sure
so far in the business, because if you have 5 dragons trying the product and saying that's disgusting, it literally kills the brand on the spot.
We have arrived in Manchester.
Good afternoon, Dragons. My name's Marissa.
My name's Teddy. And we're the fans of Perfect Ted, so we're here today to ask for £50,000 in return for a 5% stake in our business.
One of the things I remember is their smile. You remember how they made you feel. And this is one of the key things about business that people don't often understand, is that the way that the brain operates is it's less logical than we give it credit for, and it's much more emotional. And if someone just makes you feel good, and if they make you feel like they're excited and they're enthusiastic and they believe in what they're saying, then it's much more likely that you're going to invest in them. And that was certainly the case with Teddy and Marissa. They were just this bundle of smart life force energy.
Our drinks will keep you energized for twice as long, improve your focus, and give you the antioxidants you need to look as young as Stephen.
Oh, thank you.
Really?
And
excuse me, that was wrong. What you should have said as young as Chuka, because he's the oldest.
And I remember thinking to myself, I don't know if these two people are going to be successful at this business or maybe their next business, but what I know for sure is they have all the core components, all the foundations of two individuals that will eventually be successful in something.
None of anything you've talked about, you know, do I sit here and think, oh, not sure about that.
I have sampled in detail all of these drinks and can confirm I categorically like all three of them.
at first, you're a bit nervous, and then for us, we got into a groove where even before you get an offer, you can start to feel in the room that it's going that way, and that's when you start to get confident.
When all of the dragons like the pitch, you don't get to see this on camera, it just goes quiet in the den. And sometimes you can have a 15, 20-second moment of silence where all 5 dragons have ran out of questions to ask, but none of us want to go out, and it's just like this in the den. And that's when we all know that there's a war coming. And I start writing my pitch to them. I start writing down all the ways that I can help them as entrepreneurs. And this is actually what the guy Andrew Bustamante said to me on my podcast. He said that when you're trying to motivate someone, you really need to think about this rubric, this framework called RICE: reward, ideology, coercion, and ego. So ideology is understand what they want, who they are.
What's your long-term vision for this brand?
World domination.
In a different way.
Next, you want to think about ego. Everyone has an ego. So playing to someone's ego, making them feel good about what they've done is incredibly important.
I love the name. I love the story.
And number 3 is reward, which is what you can do for them.
But do you know how to build a brand? And I would believe as a dragon, I would be pivotal in helping you build that brand.
So I write down these kinds of things, and then it's my time to deliver my pitch back to these entrepreneurs.
And I think I must want you more than them. I'm going to offer you all of the money.
So I'm going to make you an offer.
50,000, and I also want 10% of the business.
You're perfect, Ted. I think you need perfect Peter.
I'm going to offer you all of the money for 10% of the business as well.
Thank you. This is really not an easy decision. Stephen, would you be willing to do 5% for £25,000?
I think it tastes great.
Thank you so much, really appreciate it.
Deal?
Yes, you have a deal.
Yeah, we have a deal.
Oh, amazing.
Thank you everyone for the kind feedback. Really appreciate it.
As an investor, there's a lot of things you don't know about business, but there can be a couple of things that you know to be true, even if you don't know everything about the industry or the product or the people in front of you. So some of my first principles in this situation were, these two people are going to be successful someday. I knew that for sure. Another first principle I had is that within the energy drink market at the moment, there is a real sort of counter movement away from these very high sugar, crash-inducing energy drinks. Decaf was on the rise for this very reason. So I knew that the energy drink market is rife for disruption. And then as it relates to matcha, I'd recalled that there's a huge rise at the moment in people drinking matcha as a source of energy. So with those 3 things together, then you overlay that with the risk equation. They're asking for this much cash, not a lot of cash, for this much percentage. Is it worth it? Investments are basically a zero-sum game. What I mean by that is I'm not just judging their investment in isolation. I'm sitting in the den for about 2 months and I'm gonna see about 100 pitches. So I'm actually trying to work out if this is one of the top 10 best investments that will come through that door this year. if this is the best allocation of my capital. Every year I do about 10 investments roughly. So what I'm actually figuring out from a much more high level perspective is, are they one of the top 10 best investments that I'm gonna see this year? So with all of those factors combined, I made the decision that they were, and that they were a good bet, so I made them an offer.
We went in 50 grand for 5%. They all offered us 50 grand for 10%, except Deborah Meaden, who did 50 grand for 7.5%. And then we went to talk to the wall, and when we went, it was just, we knew that we wanted Stephen. And we went back, and then I fumbled my words, but dude, how long were we in there for?
I don't know. We got 25,000 from
Stephen
Stephen for 5% of the business.
Oh my god, that's just, I can't believe you got these days as Stephen Barlow on board.
I know.
That is absolutely mental.
So I'd seen every episode of Dragon's Den. Like I know everything about it. So it was a big part of my childhood, and at the same time, I had grown up watching it with my best friend Jack. And I said to my dad and Jack, we were like, one day I'm going on Dragon's Den. I don't know what the business is, I don't know what the idea is. I don't know if I'll do well in it, but like, we're going on the show. And then Jack sadly passed away to cancer at the end of university. And so when the opportunity came up to go on, I was going on for him, for me, whether or not it was going to be a successful outcome or not. A lot of people treat Dragon's Den as a vehicle for getting investment or whatever. Looking back on it, it was as much of an end goal for me as it was like a vehicle to market the product or get investment or work with a dragon. For me, that was it. Like that wasn't a way to get a foot up to build the business. I wasn't thinking like that. I was thinking, this is something I've dreamt of doing. This is our shot.
Can I make a deal with you? If you like this video, can you do me a favor, me and Will, who records and edits this whole thing and put this wonderful production together with Lish, please can you hit the subscribe button below, because about 41% of you that watch this frequently subscribe. I want to get those numbers up, and the bigger the number gets, the bigger the team gets, the more we can produce this. Hopefully we can get to making these videos every single week, and that comes down to your support. So thank you so much.
Like, it was so bad that I was like, oh my God, like, is our business even going to exist when the show airs? You know, when you ask people like, what was the moment? That night was our moment. It was the moment our lives and the business changed in an irreversible way, because even whatever happens today, whatever happens from now, we'll have that moment.
There's Shopify, which is what our website is hosted on. We get it maybe a few times a day. When I say to you, it was like my phone was broken, my Apple Watch was broken. It was like cha-ching, 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 cha-ching for 3 days straight.
It was crazy.
It didn't stop. It didn't stop. It wasn't like cha-ching, cha-ching. It was cha-ching, 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 cha-ching for 3 days straight.
You literally wake up and you've got thousands of like notifications. Sell, 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 sell. It was crazy.
And what was going through your head at that point?
This is insanity. We're literally still getting multiple orders a minute. Things were going wrong. Like, we had sold way more product than we had prepared for. Warehouse wasn't prepared. We were in there packing boxes.
It was crazy.
The demand was so high post Dragon's Den, we just didn't have the money, and it was a really bad situation. And so when we came into the office with Steve, you know, you obviously have to come in really energetic, really positive, and you push all that aside and you just speak about the pros of the business.
They came to see me in my warehouse office in Shoreditch, and we talked about some of the foundational things. And the most important thing I wanted to speak to them about is, in a very cluttered market where you have all of these energy drinks that you see on the supermarket shelf, how do we get them to stand out and ultimately to build a cult around the brand?
Would it be helpful to get an update from us? We have some high-level targets that we want to hit over the next few years. I mean, we wanted to hit a £5 million run rate by September. We hit it in March, but I think that's obviously a bit inflated because of Dragon's Den, so it depends what our retention will be. We want to hit £5 million this year, £10 million next year, and then £25 million by 2025. That's our high-level target. And I think the key to making that work is Tesco. The challenge is like, how do we make Tesco a huge success, sustain that momentum, and then lift off?
So we're launching into 200 Sainsbury's stores this month.
Yeah.
We have a really cool launch with Joe and the Juice across the UK and Europe.
We're launching matcha powder products into 717 Holland Barrett stores from September. What advice would you guys give us from like a high-level business perspective?
One of the things where I see a big opportunity is community, this idea of community. I'm like, build a fucking tribe.
Yeah.
And I think from that, all good things come. And I think the brand, it will be built and propped up on this like phenomenal community.
What's your why? Why are you doing it? What's your reason? What's your values? What's your mission? And how do you communicate that to community without the product in the way? So I think the best like social media pages and content pages, actually you can't see the product anywhere.
Yeah. When you think about some of the biggest brands that have swept the UK, from Brewdog to Gymshark, what they've all done successfully is they've managed to build a cult community around a set of values. In the case of Brewdog, it is about being different and rebelling against the commoditized industry. And in the case of Gymshark, it's about bodybuilding, it's about fitness first, it's about health and wellness being your identity, and it's about standing against everything that isn't. And how do you do that as a brand? Well, the first thing is you have to get clear on what you stand for. And the difficult part is when you clearly stand for something, you so clearly stand against something, and you will piss people off. Jane Warren said this on my podcast. She said, if you want to build a really, really great brand, you have to piss off 80% of people to get to your 20%. She goes, you don't need everyone to like you. That's not a brand. That's a product, it's not a brand. And this is really what I wanted to focus on with them in that first session. We went on to have many meetings, but that first meeting was all about what I think is the furthest upstream challenge, which is how do you scale and build a cult? Because if you can build a cult around your brand, a really, really strong community, then everything else takes care of itself.
The negotiation with Steve was really hard.
We were negotiating live, which was with Steve in his studio on the set of Diary of a CEO. It was intense.
Do you remember this?
In the negotiation you're about to see, I just want you to know a couple of things so that you can understand what's going on. Me and Perfect Ted had done a deal, and we'd been working together for about a year roughly, and the deal has been fantastic on both sides. We've loved working together. So we've got the deal we made in the den, which is done and dusted, and what you see now is us trying to do another deal with them to invest even more cash in their business a year later.
We've been growing week over week. This week we're on track to beat last week again. A product goes live tomorrow with Tesco, our matcha powder, like the exclusive matcha powder across, I think 600 Tesco stores. Ocado, we're going to be listing pretty much the full range across the drinks and powder. We're in negotiations with Boots. Sainsbury's have asked us to set up as a supplier. Brand awareness is going. We're working super hard on the event side.
Yeah.
What questions do you have regarding, obviously, proposal, what Steve put together?
So when we first spoke, you were talking about a range of 500 to a million. I think we need to be on the top end of that at £1 million. And in terms of the equity, we're conscious that you want to get, just being transparent, we want to get to 15% extra. We can accommodate that, but to promote alignment, here's how we think we should do it. So 5% initially, and then based on all the growth that we can achieve together and us backing each other, we think then unlock additional equity, so 2.5% at 30 million of revenue, 2.5% at 45, and then the final 5% at 60.
So we'd put the million in and we'd promote the brand.
Yeah.
And say the business didn't hit one of these milestones, we'd only have 5% more.
Yeah, to be at 10%.
So I'll be giving £1 million and talking about it every day, everywhere.
Yeah.
And then if the business doesn't perform, which could be down to you guys, because my contribution is fixed, yours isn't, then I don't get the upside.
Now I have to say, £1 million is a lot of money for me to invest. And also, on their end, giving away even 1% of their company is a massive, massive decision, because their company could be worth billions of dollars one day. So on both sides of the table, what you've got is a healthy tension, a healthy negotiation, where we're both fighting for our interests. We want to put our cash in, but we want as many guarantees as we can possibly get that our cash isn't just going to be burnt alive.
You know, it's 2 years down the line or 3 years down the line, and you stop delivering, and we continue hustling and growing the business, you're unlocking equity, 2.5%, then an additional 5%.
And on their side of the table, they want me to be involved in the business, and they want my cash. They want as much cash as they can get, and they want to make sure that I deliver in terms of the support that I'm offering them.
We think it aligns us all to outperform and fucking take this thing to the moon. That's why I like the model. We like the model of the equity unlocking over time tied to sales.
So what we need to figure out, and this is how negotiations look, but you probably don't ever get to see them, is we need to find that middle ground, that compromise, where we both are a little bit unhappy with the agreement, but we're both satisfied.
I would love that if I was you, because it gives you a guarantee, doesn't it? It gives you a certain level of guarantees that I don't get.
Yeah.
And it feels like this model is designed to alleviate as much uncertainty on your end about me, where there isn't a mechanism for me to alleviate do I get the million back if it doesn't get to past 20 million valuation?
I remember the thing that sticks with me is he gets sent a lot of free product, and he got sent another energy drink, and he takes his drink and he goes, you know what I think of this? We're saying, you know what, we're gonna give Steve another 15% of the business because we believe the upside is a lot bigger than if we retain 95% of the business.
And that's the word, believe, which is what I'm having to do.
Yeah. Well, do you believe?
You're here, right?
£1 million or £500,000, 15% today just doesn't work economically for us. We'd like to get you to 15% additional. We'd like to do it with £1 million. Is there a way that we can be more flexible so that we're a little bit protected, you're also a little bit protected, and that we're optimizing for growth as opposed to us feeling like we're feeling a little bit squeezed on valuation and we feel undervalued as a result of it. It doesn't have to be the answer now, but it's just something we're thinking about. That's how we feel. Yeah, you shouldn't do a deal if you feel that way. Likewise, we should. So there has to be a compromise.
And if it was about just the money, we obviously wouldn't be here. We want to do a partnership with you guys. We see the value in it already, and we love working with you.
Yeah.
It's fun.
You came in here. We've come in here. What works? Maybe you think works for us. Let's find something that works for us.
Obviously you guys have had time to think about the mechanism that works. You presented that. We just need that bit of time to go back and think about it, and we'll get there.
I think it took about a year of negotiation before the deal was signed, sealed, delivered. But I'm so glad it got done because as an investor in Perfect TED, my role is varied, to say the least. They'll call me because they need some support with a particular retailer. So they might be going into a new retailer and they need me to support there. They'll call me because they have a marketing-related challenge that they want to speak about. They'll call me because they want me to attend certain events. They'll call me because they want meetings about certain things. They are well and truly embedded in my team. And also, one of the things that I've been doing for Perfect TED is I've been Chief Sampling Officer, which means that when guests come on my podcast or I interact with influential people, I'm always talking to them and showing them Perfect TED.
See it here on this camera. The guys that made this. Well done.
I know without Steve, we would still be successful, but the opportunities he's been able to afford us has been life-changing and business-changing. So that's how I think we think about Dragon's Den and investment and Steve and everything is it's so supplementary and so fast-track, but no one's going to run your business for you. That has to come from us.
Exactly.
I think when I invested, Perfect TED was generating about £9,000 a month. And as I sit here today, they're now doing about $1 million a month.
The month we filmed for the Den, we did £27,000. The month the episode aired, we did £400,000. So we grew 10 times. And then a year later, the business is doing over £1 million in 1 month. So we did £200,000 in our first year of sales, $2.5 million in our second year of sales, and now we're doing 12 million of sales in our third year. So it's been pretty phenomenal growth. The team has gone from 2 people around a kitchen table to 20 people in a modest office, but it's been a lot of growth in such a short period.
What's that growth? What's that percentage growth from? Let me ask ChatGPT. Hey ChatGPT, if a company grows from £9,000 a month to £1 million a month, what is that growth rate?
It seems like the company has experienced a decrease rather than growth.
My investment's gone under. AI's just told me that my investment's gone under. Cancel.
To calculate the monthly growth rate in percentage terms, you can use the formula for compound growth rate. Text growth rate, frac text final amount, text initial amount, frac 1, n minus 1.
Cut to the chase.
All right. Text growth rate
No calculations, just tell me the figure. You're on behind the diary.
Got it. The monthly growth rate is approximately 65.8%.
No, that's not correct. Just the number. The next thing I want to hear from you is just a number.
The percentage increase is 11,111.11%.
11,000%. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, we are rich. 11,000%. Jeez.
I remember there was one time when I asked Steve, it's so incredible what you've built. Did you really expect to ever get here? And he said, yes, I did. And I was actually a bit taken aback because it was a really confident but honest answer, and I knew he was telling the truth. And I think we share a similar conviction in ourselves and the business.
Truthfully, I think in our mind, we believe we can build a £100 million business. And until we hit at least £100 million business, and so we have to grow 8 times between now and achieving that. So we have a lot more work to do.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I think I said this to them in one of their meetings when in the early days when we were sat in my old warehouse office. I said to them that much of the reason why I wanted to invest in Perfect TED was because I just want to do legendary things and I want to be involved in really cool, legendary, disruptive things. And for me, it's less about how much money I'm going to make. And I know this sounds, some people might not believe it, but if Perfect TED sells for 100 million, 200 million, 300 million, 400 million, whatever, which I'd be shocked if it doesn't, it's not going to change my life in any way. It's not going to change my life at all. So really, what matters is just enjoying the journey. And as an investor, it's almost like you get to relive your own journey vicariously through watching them. You get to see people who are young and are hungry and are going through all of the challenges and are building something, and it's growing and it's disrupting and it's amazing and it's fun. And I get to sit there with them as that happens to them and it changes their life.
One thing that we have a lot of mentors in our business, Steve being one of them, but all the mentors, people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they all say, you're on an amazing trajectory, enjoy it. And that's what I want to be able to say to myself in 20 years' time, like make sure you enjoy it. Because I know what we're doing right now is insane. And I just feel like sometimes we get caught up in it and we take it for granted. So like, I try and enjoy it.
And I have to tell you, and they don't know this yet, but I'm sure they're gonna watch this. One of the worst days, one of the least fun days, the biggest anticlimax in their journey is gonna be the day when they sign the contract to sell their business for $200-300 million. Because that's when the journey typically ends. And you look back on it with rose-tinted glasses and you say, God, wasn't that fun? And you don't think so much about the fact that you're now very rich. You think more about the people you met along the way, the things you happened, the desk you slept under, the late nights, the crisis, the days where things went bad, and you miss that a little bit. But then you go on to your next journey. And as one of my mentors once said to me, you choose a new goal that scares you even more. You choose a moonshot.
I want you to remember this moment, but these 3 chairs are here again in 12 months' time, and let's see what the story holds. Deal?
Yeah.